Welcome to this special edition of On Point. I'm Karthikeya Sharma, and today we have a special guest, Yashovardhan Azad, former Information Commissioner and former Special Director, Intelligence Bureau, who has written the book called Policing the Republic, an inside view of how India fights corruption and crime and protects rights. The book is about contemporary issues, things which plague Indian administration, society, things which need to be corrected, and developments that have happened in last 30 to 40 years. So let me begin this conversation by asking you, what prompted you to write this book, and what defines Indian police today? Has it been able to completely shed its colonial legacy?
Well, it's very difficult to answer whether it has completely shed its colonial legacy. I would say the colonial legacy lives still in many forms of policing today. And one of the most important reasons why it still persists is that because most of the chief ministers today, like the colonial rule, want a complete grip on the police functioning in the states. That's number one. And then you have this old antiquated 1861 Act, which is still there. Unfortunately, despite the new criminal laws, which are supposed to change the face of policing, because laws are meant for the people, and police is the instrument how it implements the law. There are many places where one would have thought that it was more essential to reform the police first and then go into reforming the laws itself. In fact, the four institutions of criminal justice system, police, prosecution, prisons, and judiciary, needed to be reformed. So I would like to answer by saying that the colonial relic has not been completely shed in the police functioning. There are too many things operationally and otherwise which need to be done.
You know, in your book, you have written about the BNS, but you have also made the point that the police discretion has expanded under the BNS. Why?
Well, there are three or four indications if you look at it. In certain cases, police has the authority to inquire before instituting an FIR. Now that gives a huge latitude. The second is that if you see earlier on you had the UAPA where there were stringent controls in the sense that the government would sanction. But in the new BNS, you can institute a case of terrorism. It depends on the SP. And even the requirement of the DSP being the investigating officer is not there. Third, the question of bail is a little difficult now because you can take remand twice or thrice. Depends on the period, as long as the limit of 15 days is maintained. So if the police goes and says that, no, we have to again interrogate this man, nobody will get bail. So till the time the case really reaches its conclusion, if you don't get a bail, which is a rightful claim of the person, it obviously means that the police expansion of powers is there. That's unfortunate.
Is this the reason that bails are difficult to get these days?
Bails are certainly difficult. I would also put a little bit of responsibility on the judiciary. You see, in many cases, Supreme Court have said that why aren't the trial courts doing their jobs? I mean, here is a case where bail should have been given. Unfortunately, the trial courts are under some kind of a pressure or something that they need to sort of go by the police or the prosecution version. So I think when the Supreme Court directive, for example, if the trials go on for years and years, obviously that man deserves bail. Though in some cases, Supreme Court has mentioned that if the gravity of the crime is so serious, then the delay in trial itself cannot be the reason for offering bail.
Okay. You have also written about VVIP security, SPG. There is something called Stengun culture in India. How do you deal with it? This country has also witnessed assassinations. Politicians are also targeted. And then you have pressure from those who want them around like mannequins.
You see, I've written in my book that in the north, everyone likes a Stengun wala because, it gives them power, status. And whereas in the South, they like the tall, burly, black, commando type people who are there. But basically, the objective is the same. I would say that at least 70 to 80% of the security provided is superfluous. It's not really required. If you're aiming to ask whether it can be pruned, it is very difficult because there is a chapter in my book which says the politics of protection, in which today protection is being given by the governments to satisfy the MLAs and to keep their coalitions functioning. So in a situation like this, when quite a substantial part of police is devoted toward non-essential work, it impacts the police functioning, whether it's crime or whether it's law and order.
Tell me, in your entire tenure, what sort of political pressure does police has to face? I'm not saying that that people who join police do not like that attention, interaction, and proximity with the politicians, but who has the last word? And did you ever undergo political pressure?
Yes, I think even then the political pressure is immense. I mean, there is no doubt. Right when I was additional SP, I remember there was very respected and a good man, Lakshmi Narayan Sharma ji, who was a revenue minister. And he asked me about a particular case. And this was a murder case. And he said that how many people have been arrested? And I said 5. He said, no, actually 8 should have been arrested. Now, he was a grounded man. His constituency was also that area. But I politely refused. And of course, he threatened me with a transfer. Not threatened me, very mildly. And I said something which I shouldn't have said. And I was hauled up before the Chief Minister, Mr. Saklecha, a venerable old gentleman. And he asked me the entire situation. And I told him, I said, I'm sorry, I said something in the end which I shouldn't have said, something flippant. But I couldn't do anything. And hats off to that man, he didn't transfer me or didn't say anything. So, many times I've had differences with the Home Minister and he kicked me out in a day. I mean, in Bhopal, when I was DIG, we had some differences in the evening. And he went to the Chief Minister, Mr. Digvijay Singh, and the Home Secretary called me. He says, you are being transferred. I said, yeah, okay. And I was kicked out the next day. So it happens. So you have to face it in the sense that if you're true to what you're doing and the people respect you. Let me tell you, Kartikeya, that in every district, a panwala knows the reputation of the SP or the collector. And later, ultimately, this kind of an, steadfastness, truthfulness helps you in the end. You might get kicked out here and there. But as far as political pressure goes, it's immense. And right now, I think it's much more. Those days, the politicians at least accepted you despite differences. Today, they don't.
Okay. Do we need to audit Intelligence Bureau in RAW? You have been part of Intelligence Bureau. You were in charge of the security of the Indian team in Pakistan, the cricket team. Do you think that these agencies should be governed by acts of parliament?
Absolutely. I think Manish Tiwari had raised it as a private bill. And even when I was in the IB, I supported that IB and RAW should be governed by some kind of a parliamentary act. All over it is done like that. And in fact, I'll go further. I would say that the IB and RAW are both should be tasked to give an annual report in the end. And it should be before the public. What are your thrust areas? You need not give operational details, but you should give your thrust areas. You should say what are your priorities. And it's not true that the intelligence agency should not come out with anything. No, they need to be entrusted with responsibility. They need to be entrusted with also accountability. That goes together. And you're absolutely right that it should come under a parliament.
Is the oversight sufficient for both IB and RAW today?
No, it's not. That's exactly what I'm saying. There should be a parliamentary oversight. The standing committee should be able to ask that which were your thrust areas and what is the kind of success you have gained. It's all over the world. It happens in America. And it will be good if the DIB comes before or the RAW chief comes before a parliamentary committee and explains to them. They're also people who are who will understand and appreciate. In fact, it's important that the lawmakers get to know under what difficult conditions the IB and the RAW operate and what exactly they are doing. Not exactly the operational details, but what are the thrust areas they are operating in.
Okay. Now coming to ED and CBI, first it was CBI, now ED, both have acquired a very notorious reputation. So my question is something like this. Have these agencies delivered or have they become delivery mechanisms for their political masters?
Well, that extremely, catchy delivery mechanisms. It appears so. A very simple thing, Karthikeya. If an ED chief or CBI chief is totally independent, they should be independent because they get a tenure of 3 years, and then 1 year it's like on a contract basis if you're doing well. That's exactly where the rub lies. If you want to make CBI and ED really working institutions, give them 5 years tenure. Nobody minds it. Have a man of repute over there. The simple thing in a democracy should be, how are the cases being investigated and prosecuted? According to sequence or according to priorities? So, when you have prosecution of cases, investigation of cases, it should not be one-sided. Why? Where they fall short. CBI is an outstanding organization. In all non-political cases, its record is outstanding. When it comes to the politicians, it starts slowing down or getting fast. So it is only against the opposition. You have many politicians and chief ministers against whom cases have been instituted. It's time to see that they are also, proceeded with the same zeal as it is being done against the opposition.
You also dedicated a chapter to Naxalites. You have served in a state which suffered because of Naxalism. So what did succeed? Technology, resolve, free hand? Why are we successful against Naxalites today?
That's a very, very important question, and I would attribute all these characteristics to the success campaign. Let me compliment the Home Minister. Mr. Amit Shah virtually went down to the troop level, gave them almost everything. Technology was a great factor. Then the coordination was excellent. All these red corridor states, the way they have cooperated on the border has been absolutely amazing. Andhra was already ahead. Andhra had smashed Naxalism. There were a few hideouts over there. But in terms of the approach which was taken, in the sense that you fight for a particular area, secure it, and then hold it, and then introduce the government delivery programs. Today, in Sukuma, which was the worst affected district, people have come back after 22 years to stay there, consecrating a Shiv idol. I have mentioned it in that book. And that Amuj Bar, which was completely lost, has now come back. Now, the making of roads, the steadfastness, the mobile towers, the kind of technology and the weapons, the helicopter medi-evac, the rehabilitation of the ex-Naxalites. There is a Pudam Cafe or something which has come in Basta, which is of surrendered Naxalites. It's a huge success, and there is a lot of happiness in that particular area. There is a caution, of course, that those areas which have surrenders, those areas which have come back to us, there is already a hint of the business conglomerates going there, trying, eyeing for some, mining and things like that. That should be kept in abeyance. But full marks to this government, resolve, will, determination, and giving a free hand to the troops to do it. And of course, full marks to the state police and the CRPF for doing this job.
On a serious note, when we are talking about Naxalism, Prime Minister has entire BJP ecosystem speaks about urban Naxals. This time he spoke about Dimagi Naxals. Do you think that there is an ecosystem of Naxalites in cities, universities?
Well, I really don't know who advised the Prime Minister to come up with this phraseology of Dimagi Naxals. You know, of course, there'll be urban support, and there was support in urban areas for the Naxals. As long as the Naxals were talking about the depredations of the state and the ill or the misgovernance of the state machinery, the exploitation of the tribals, there was a thinking of this kind. But that doesn't matter. Every university is supposed to think independently as to the ills of the state, the profunds of the state. But that doesn't mean you condemn the Naxalites. But in those people who have been funding, people who have been giving shelter to the Naxalites, that's an area which you certainly look into, and that was smashed. But Dimagi Naxal, you can't go into the minds of people. It's unfortunate. I'm totally against this.
We have succeeded against Naxalites, something which has been in existence for more than 50 years. But we failed in Manipur. Why?
Manipur, Kartike, I have been writing about it, and I'm very pained that Manipur is a problem from before. There was extremism, there was insurgency, and we had these important groups also. But Manipur is an ethnic problem, right? You have to fight it politically. You know, even now the security situation is still, you know, very, very tender. Right now. 3 years back, you had this in 2023, in July, when that agitation and the violence took place. And we took very long to impose the president's rule. The chief minister was perceived to be pro-Maiti. You know the nature there that, you know, how 53% live on 10% of the mainland and the rest in the hills. There is always a battle between the two, because the hill people say that we don't have any, you know, AIMS or government institutions or anything. They want a budget directly. They want to do it, do their things on their own. Whereas the Maitis blame the cookies, saying that there is a lot of opium planting over here, which is also true because of the problem in Myanmar. But then what happened? What happened was that you posted the Home Secretary, who had overseen all this, as the governor over there. If after a year you would have put some of the brightest cadre guys like Jarnail Singh, one of the finest chief secretaries, Harjeet Sandhu, one of the finest police officers, doing a president's rule, in 2 years they would have been able to, you know, get the confidence of the people that something right is being done. But the political settlement which came was not to the liking. Today, again, it's not working and the security situation is more fragile.
Now Nagas have joined the fray.
Now Nagas have joined. That's why, you know, I had suggested then, somebody like, you know, Nitin Gadkari, who's a good interlocutor, who's a good negotiator, who's accepted even by the opposition, etc., would have been the right man to go and talk to them. Keep talking, something will come out of it. Unfortunately, we've lost that chance today. And despite one of the good officers who has been posted as a DGP, who was in Kashmir earlier also, it's a tough battle ahead. And I think the solution is still political and not with the use of force.
You have dedicated chapters to RTI, you have written about individual rights. Do you think RTI Act is dead today?
Well, this is a pretty strong statement, but the indications...
You're the former commissioner.
Yeah, the indications are that, well, RTI regime is on the wane, I would say. And it was hit very badly a couple of years back when there was this drastic amendments altering the tenure, the salary, and basically the status of the commissioners. So when they were equivalent to the election commissioner, almost all the perks of the Supreme Court judge, then they had the authority, they had the power to call any secretary to Government of India before them. But today they themselves have become equated with the secretary. Then there are a lot of issues, questions where I don't know, the loyalty part still you know, exists with many of the commissioners who have been posted. They don't seem to give out information. then whether it's PM Care Fund, whether it's the bond scheme which SC declared illegal and said clearly that people have a right to know. If these basic issues are not being looked into by the commissioners, then yes, and there is a massive pendency. The Central Information Commission was running with 3 commissioners for almost 2 years. So all in all, it really reflected a kind of a gross neglect. And by the way, the postings of the commissioners every time had to be done by the directive of the Supreme Court. So yes, in that respect, what we thought RTI would be, it used to be called a sunshine legislation, is definitely in a bad shape.
Has it become a parking place?
Yes, it is. It is, because it's very difficult now to surmount that pendency issue, and there is hardly anything which comes out in the papers of any landmark judgments, like political parties being designated as coming under the ambit of RTI in 2013. Certainly in that respect, it has now become a parking place.
Do you feel that individual rights are under stress despite right to privacy in place in this country?
See, Kartikeya, when the right to privacy...
And I'll connect it with the Jantar Mantar protest. In a way, police does have the right. They had deployed those advanced facial recognition systems. And the logic was to identify whether, criminal elements have infiltrated or not. But on the other hand, you were identifying the protesters.
That's the biggest problem in democracy. Even in Los Angeles, there was a huge debate on the use of facial recognition system, both technically, whether it is, still that efficient, and also otherwise. Mass screening of people under facial recognition is with the Supreme Court now hearing, and Supreme Court is going to give a verdict on that. Right to privacy has many issues, Kartikeya, and one of the biggest issues is relating to that RTI which you asked me just now. Right to privacy does not mean that every information about you, even if it is in the interest of the public, that it should not be given. It directly negates the RTI. That's his biggest problem, in the sense that if a politician's real income or asset base goes up by 1,000% in 3 years, public don't have a right to know. They have elected him. The salary goes from the public, so people have a right to question. People have a right to know from the RTI. Then the other thing, the right to privacy is being adjudicated by that committee which is going to look into the violations of right to privacy. That is completely under the hand of the government. It's a government agency. So how do I think of it as an autonomous organization with the statute powers that it will give relief to? It has to be outside the purview of the government, as it is outside. There are so many other issues which we have pointed out. So yes, right to privacy has issues, and it will remain. And in that sense, yes, certain things are diluted, and especially related to the government interference. One small point before I end, the government surveillance. Puttu Swami judgment said what? Any government intervention should be legal, born out of real necessity, and the factor of proportionality should be there. So who's checking whom? In surveillance, for example, if I am doing somebody's surveillance, I take the permission from some other officer who's almost equal to me, and then it is supervised by one person above. So like in Bihar, we say, chura ka gawahi dahi. Everything is, ordered. Should there be a judicial intervention? Why should it be? Take a judicial intervention and then see so that somebody can assess the necessity. So these are things which we really need to look at now when we talk about right to privacy.
And lastly, let's come to Kashmir. Do you think that 370 has made a substantive difference to Kashmir in context of law and order?
370 has made no difference in no respect, because 370 was already gone. It had been already diluted. I'm not saying that I'm not against 370 or for 370. It was a step. For example, it has made no difference on the security grid. The same acts which you are talking about is continuing.
You're basically saying that Indira Gandhi defanged it when they had the Accord in 70s with Sheikh Abdullah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, so it really, for me, it doesn't matter. All the states should be equal. With that spirit, if you've removed it, that is fine. But in the sense, you can't tom-tom it, saying that is the greatest thing which has happened in Kashmir. Things have not changed. Today, for example, if you are in counter-terrorism, it's most important to take the support of the people. An elected chief minister by the people needs to be given, he should be heading the security command. He will get the support of the people. So the first important thing is that you should give back statehood to Jammu and Kashmir. The security grid is in place. What has changed in security grid? Nothing. Our security grid is strong. I agree. The army is doing a good job on the border, and so is the police inside. But Pahalgam happened, and it will keep happening irrespective of the rule, Karthike. Even if Congress is there or BJP is there or anybody is there. So there has to be a unanimity in your view on Kashmir. We should not abuse Pakistan every day. We should not, start shouting at every incident which happens in Kashmir. We have to take it like another day in office. For that, you need maturity, sagacity, and give it a complete democracy in Jammu and Kashmir by giving the Chief Minister all the powers to lead the fight against terrorism.
You have you wrote that that and you mentioned that particular line ki kheliye bhi aur dil bhi jeetiye. That's is it? Do you think it's really possible today with Asim Munir in power, an army having such big leverage, even greater than what Zia had? It's almost like Yahya Khan in power.
Yes, Munir has brought back those images of, Ayub Khan, a complete dictatorship. There's no doubt about it. In fact, Trump treats him as the virtual prime minister who heads everything. But Karthike, I admire a man like Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Kargil happened. Pakistan team was here in '99. I was with the team as security coordinator. Towards the end, Kandahar hijacking took place. Vajpayee still was in Lahore, and after that only Kargil happened. Then Parliament happened. Then Red Fort attack happened. Then again he went for the Agra summit. Agra summit failed because they didn't give us the assurance of cross-border terrorism. And yet that man says that, okay, let's try ultimately this cricket thing. Send a team to find out. And that is how I went. So I admire that guy. And he says, khel bhi jeeto, dil bhi jeete. And that's why I've asked this question which you asked me. Did we? People to people contact, excellent. Professional to professional, they gave me amazing kind of respect and all that. But yes, as far as the Munir structure remains in Pakistan, there is no headway. And for that matter, I would say, it's infructuous because we don't have any negotiating, maneuverability for anything. Indus Water Treaty's action is good enough. And we should keep a posture of completely ignoring Pakistan like a big nation. We should not even oppose them in the United Nations. Just let them be. If they want to talk, we can talk about rice, chawal, dal, whatever, and again come back to cross-border terrorism. That is the only way we can look at Pakistan, this, high parley diplomacy or these, back channel talks. They're of no use because there is just no room for any kind of...
And last question. Operation Sindur is an operation in motion. Do you think that this sort of posturing works?
Well, I don't know why Operation Sindur is still in motion. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. The question one should really ask, has Operation Sindur, which was very successful, my only objection is why on the fourth day we yielded. We should not have. We should have run them down, completely, which many people hold my view. whether the question really is whether Operation Sindur has really caused a deterrence enough for the Pakistan not to do any misadventure again. Now, certainly may not be a major blow coming, but this kind of a bleeding like Pahalgam, I think it will continue. And we have to brace ourselves to that, keep our security grid strong, democratic credentials strong. That's the only way to fight this menace.
So thank you so much for making time for News 9.
Thanks, Karthikeyan.